Hi everybody, welcome back to the Out of the Park Baseball 19 tutorial series. Now I've already done a video about trades and trade negotiations, but I thought I would take this time to specifically go over the trade deadline and how buying teams and selling teams may behave once the trade deadline is quickly approaching. So what I've done is I'm now with the Yankees. I've simmed through to July 27th. The trade deadline is July 30th. And right now, the Yankees are tied with Seattle for the top wild card spot. And then Los Angeles is 5 games behind, still lurking. The Yankees themselves are 4.5 games back behind Boston. So the Yankees would definitely be what I would say either a buying or a holding club in that case. Holding meaning they wouldn't make any deals, but they certainly wouldn't sell any of their players either. Buying meaning that they're actively going to seek out some talent for these last few months to hopefully, maybe win the division or at least get them set up for the playoffs. You don't actually have to, even if you have, like, I would say a playoff spot pretty much sealed up. It's still a good idea to buy sometimes, because when you look at teams like the Dodgers and the Astros last year, they each bought starting pitchers at the trade deadline in the form of Darvish and Verlander, and those teams they pretty much had playoff spots and their whole divisions locked up because they were on fire. But these players theoretically were to help them in the playoffs as well. So, and that worked out better for the Astros with Verlander in the end than it did for the Dodgers with Darvish. But you can get the logic. And I'm looking at this Yankees team now. They've been out of my control, but I'm looking at them right now, and I'm seeing kind of a big hole at starting pitcher right now. Nestor Molina is their currently the fourth in the rotation. I don't set the rotation, but he's fourth. I'd probably put Sabathia ahead of him, but if they could maybe get an extra starting pitcher, that could be definitely very helpful for them. And I guess the only other position would maybe be third base, because they've signed Brett Lawrie. But the thing is, if I were the guy running the Yankees right now, which I'm not, I'm just doing the trades. Gleyber Torres, I would just call him up and play him at third, honestly. But CPUs has, for whatever reason, decided not to do that, and I'm going to respect their wishes. And I'm going to show you guys how exactly I would go about finding a good starting pitcher to trade for at the trade deadline. Alright guys, so I've set up my player filter here. All I've asked for is players with an overall rating of at least 40, which is the equivalent of 2 stars in game. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the position to starter, and then I'm going to sort by years left on the contract. So these guys who have 1 year auto, they don't really have 1 year left on their contracts. It's just going to auto renew. The guys entering arbitration, same thing. But these guys right here, Charlie Morton would be a good one. Unfortunately, he's injured himself. Maybe someone like Matt Harvey. I'd maybe look for someone a little bit better. So if we can find basically a good starting pitcher that is sort of in this category, that's on a team that's maybe not so competitive, they may be keen to let him go. So I'll see what kind of guy I can find. All right, the options were fairly limited as far as starting pitchers go who had 1 year left on their contract, and the ones that did were mostly on contending teams. And I wouldn't even say the Blue Jays aren't contending right now. They are 10 games out of the division, but 5.5 from the wild card spot right now. They have obviously long-term options that they're going to want to keep around for a while, like Stroman and Aaron Sanchez in their rotation. But in the case of one J.A. Happ, he is 35 years old, and this is the last year of his contract. So if the Yankees were to trade for J.A. Happ, they would essentially just be getting the last 2 months of him plus the playoffs as well. So that would be one reason also for the Blue Jays maybe to sell, because they're going to think to themselves, hey, J.A. Happ probably walks this offseason anyways. You know, if we don't want to keep him around, we might as well get something for him now before he can leave for free. So I'm going to try to make a trade for J.A. Happ right now. And one little tip that I will always, that I could suggest right now is I would switch to OSA, and then I would look at my top prospects, and I would kind of look for guys who maybe OSA likes better than our scout, in the hopes that the Blue Jays will value them differently. So one guy that crossed my eye right here was this 17-year-old named Everson Pereira. He is a center fielder currently in rookie ball, a long ways away from making any sort of big league impact. Here's what our head scout thinks about him. Could be a good defender, but just not a major league hitter in any way. So that's what he projects to according to our scout. According to OSA, however, he actually looks like he could be a very solid player, and OSA also likes his defense a lot more. So, but if we trust our scout, which is generally something that you should do. If you can't trust your scout over OSA in most cases, I would suggest you hire a new scout. So we're going to bring in Pereira right now, who's 17. And then the Blue Jays general manager says, hey, that's close to being fair, but I need more. So if we go make this trade work now, it'll come up with our list of players that if we were to insert them into the trade, it would be a final deal. And for me, I've already looked through this. Someone like Chance Adams is not a particularly consequential player in it by any means. And also maybe someone like Billy McKinney is the other one. My first instinct is to trade McKinney, honestly. He plays corner outfield, and if the Yankees are strong at any position, it's corner outfield right now with the likes of Judge or Stanton. So he's just not particularly of much use, both in the short term and probably not in the long term either. So this is a trade we could make. We could send Pereira, we could send McKinney, and then we could get J.A. Happ and insert him into the rotation. That would make things look a lot smoother as the Yankees fight to contend for the NL East and eventually hopefully make the playoffs. So this is an example of a trade that I would maybe make. And our assistant GM Cashman says this isn't fair at all. We're not getting much in return. And in some cases, in some ways, he's not wrong there, because if Pereira becomes a major leaguer at all, it'll probably be a better deal for the Blue Jays, because they get so when you trade a prospect, you're getting 6 to 7 years, really 7 years of cost controlled play. If they make the majors and become successful. So from a monetary perspective, his production for over 7 years, if he were to make the majors, is going to be much more than J.A. Happ, 2 months of him, plus if the Yankees were to extend him. So in that case, Cashman's not wrong, but often in cases where you are buying at the deadline, it's not going to be about making financial sense for the long term. It's going to be about competing in the short term. You're effectively auctioning off some of your future to compete now, and that's what a trade like this does. Now, it might be interesting to at least maybe try to see, okay, well, will they throw in, at least a semi-interesting prospect or something like that? Like, what about this catcher right here? Yeah, see, so there's this catcher right here, Reese McGuire. He has, at least semi-major league aspirations. He looks like he could be a major league player. He looks like, quite frankly, he would be MLB ready. Obviously, the Yankees have someone like Gary Sanchez already, but it's, a good backup catcher, never hurt. So you can still kind of negotiate. And what I've done by adding McGuire is he said, while not improving us by a lot, this wouldn't really hurt us either. So I've appeased the assistant GM as well. So this would be kind of like a final, this would be a good buying trade right now, I think, for the Toronto Blue Jays. For the Yankees. So we're going to buy off J.A. Happ right now. We're going to complete this trade. And then once we go to rosters and transactions, I'm going to send down Molina, maybe, just because he has a ERA close to 7. So I think he'll still have option years. I think I'll be able to send him to Scranton. Yep. And then I put in Happ. And all of a sudden, that rotation is looking quite a little... Oh, I'm not allowed to do that. Sorry. One sec. I would like to be able to do that just to bring this time to an end. So now we can insert in Happ, and now this rotation is a lot fiercer. In most cases, when you get to the playoffs, you're going to use a 4-man rotation, so that 4-man rotation of Severino, Tanaka, Gray, Happ, it's much better with Happ than it is with Nestor Molina, I think. So this would be a good trade for the Yankees to make at a deadline if you're a buying club. Teams will often trade for pitcher maybe more than any other position. So yeah, and now what we're going to do is we are going to do the exact same thing, but from the perspective of a selling club. So I will see you guys then. Okay, so I am back here with what would be a selling ball club at the trade deadline. I hate to pick on the Baltimore Orioles. I've already done a Machado trade in my other trading video, but I've decided to go back to them because they are 42-63, not playing well at all. They're just not in the run for any sort of wild card spot, and they're 26 games out of first place. I'm not going to do Machado this time, although it would also make sense for them to trade Machado. One player that stands out to me is Brach. He is 32-year-old reliever. He's pitching very well. He has an ERA under 2. He's striking out a lot of hitters. He's the type of guy who, if you're a contending team and you need help in the bullpen, would be kind of the perfect buy, and his contract runs out in 2018 when he becomes a unrestricted free agent. So makes sense. I don't think the Orioles would have any reason to offer Brach a big contract extension, one that he can probably get on the open market anyways, because they're kind of, with the team performing badly, they're probably going to look to get younger, try to get some prospects. That's just what I'm thinking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to trade away Brach at the deadline, see what kind of offers we can get for what is essentially a couple month rental of Brach, and we'll hopefully be able to send him to a contending team. So I'm going to shop him around. We're going to see what kind of offers we can get from the get-go. Now, a lot of offers coming in for Brach right now. Pretty much every team has put in an offer one way or another, but you might want to figure out what kind of teams are making more serious offers than others. So the Cubs stand out. They're willing to offer Mike Montgomery a 2.5-star starting pitcher for him. So maybe the Cubs would be a good trade partner for us. Maybe the Braves would be a good trade partner. They're willing to offer up someone like Tehran. And then the Diamondbacks as well could be a good trade offer. So these are teams I'm guessing that they're all in contention one way or another. So yeah, I think Cubs, Diamondbacks, Braves, and then also the Nationals have offered us an interesting young prospect. So let's think Cubs, Braves, Diamondbacks, Nationals are two teams. We're not necessarily interested in those specific players that have showed up on the screen, but we know they've demonstrated some level of interest in Brach. So we're going to see if we can get a young player who is cost controlled or a prospect type for him. Alright guys, I have looked at whatever prospect offers we could get from the Braves and the Cubs and the Nationals, but ultimately I felt like Arizona was our ideal trade partner. I feel like what they had to offer was the most, at least according to our scout. So Arizona, as you can see right now, they're in a real dogfight. They're 5.5 back from Los Angeles, and perhaps even most importantly, they are right in the thick of a wild card race with St. Louis, San Diego, and New York, all within just a few games of each other. So that's what's going on with them right now, and they're a team that's very much right on the precipice of either being a playoff team or not. So they would definitely feel like they have to make a move. And as you can see, their current team focus is win now, which is think of that's what we were like when we were playing as the Yankees. We wanted to win now, and we were willing to auction off the future in order to do so. So when you look at when I looked at some of the best prospects available according to our scout, that is, Christian Robinson and Trey Harmon were two really young ones that came up. Christian Robinson's got some crazy potential offensive numbers. He's only 17, but he's been playing well in rookie ball. He's been playing pretty solid, and When you look at OSA, obviously a little bit lower, actually a lot lower in many of these stats, but if Robinson can reach basically somewhere in between these guys, these two wildly different projections, that'll be a big win for the Orioles in the long run because, Brad Brach, I mean, think of it, we're really just trading away like 2 months of Brad Brach, as good as he is. And then Trey Harmon was another one who I liked. Again, wildly differing opinions right here, but one thing to keep in mind is that both projections do have him being a very solid home run hitter, which is good. He's also a two-way prospect in which he has some pitching ability to speak of as well. So that's interesting too. I would probably prefer to see him play the field. Yeah, so if I go and I offer just Brad Brach, Diamondback's general manager says, I can't quite accept this deal, please add something else in. And if we make this work now, you kind of see it's not going to take too much. So personally, I just kind of looked through and I decided, all right, what about this starting pitcher named Ofelky Peralta? He's 21. He's an A-ball. I mean, decent projections according to OSA, and even then, not really anything special. Not really a starting pitcher that you would want. And so yeah, not a very high ceiling seemingly. So if we trade away Brad Brach and Peralta and we get back Robinson and Harmon, that's a good sort of step for the Orioles to take at this trade deadline precipice. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to complete that trade. And that's going to do it. And if you guys want to know how to develop prospects and stuff like that, there is a tutorial for that already. It's called Managing Prospects, I believe. So be sure to check that one out. But yeah, that is all my coverage for the trade deadline. We've looked at a selling club. We've looked at a buying club, how their behavior can greatly differ at the deadline. Thank you guys for watching. And I hope you guys are enjoying both this tutorial series as well as the White Sox Let's Play series. So thank you for your time, and I will see you guys in the next video.